Hi everyone, I'm Zach and this is my review of the Panasonic Lumix LX10. Panasonic has put a 20.1 megapixel 1-inch sensor into this camera. The build quality of the LX10 feels pretty solid overall. Ergonomically, it's a little larger than similar cameras, but I didn't have any problems fitting it in my pants or coat pockets. There is a raised grip on the front of the camera that makes shooting a little bit more comfortable, which is nice, although I do prefer the style of grip on the Lumix LX10, even though it might not look as sleek and stylish. The camera has a touchscreen and plenty of buttons and dials to make handling easy. The menus are easy to navigate, making it easy to change settings quickly. I have the Lumix GH4 and G7, and using this camera was a very familiar experience for me. I could see this being a great backup camera for photographers or videographers who are already used to using Panasonic cameras. The camera has a variety of modes such as Intelligent Auto, Panorama, Movie, and Full Manual. The battery and SD card go in the bottom slot of the camera. It is pretty typical for cameras of this size to put the card slot beside the battery, but I do wish it were on the side of the camera for easier access. The battery charges by USB or AC adapter, which is nice. Battery life is just okay. I would definitely buy a second battery if I were traveling or using this camera for any extended period of time. Physically, there are two standout features to consider when it comes to using the Lumix LX10. One is the combination of the lens control ring and the dedicated aperture ring. The lens control ring can be set to a variety of settings such as zoom, ISO, and shutter speed. Having an aperture ring is a really nice feature for changing exposure quickly, as well as giving you the feel of a classic camera lens. The second is a flip-up touchscreen that rotates 180 degrees. It's perfect for getting shots down low, selfies, and of course vlogging. And vlogging is something that this camera is a pretty good tool for. The only downside is if you plan on recording in 4K, the focal length crops in from 24mm to roughly 35mm, making it too cropped in to comfortably hold at an arm's distance. So if you're planning on recording 4K vlogs, just make sure you get a GorillaPod or something similar to hold the camera out a little further from you. The camera has a 24 to 72mm f1.4 to 2.8 lens, which is a short but usable focal range for just about any situation. Just don't expect to get any great telephoto shots. f1.4 to 2.8 along with the 1-inch sensor contribute to this camera being a pretty good performer in low light. The camera does have a pop-up flash that can be slightly tilted. I do wish it tilted back a full 90 degrees though. The lens is fairly sharp throughout. The 20.1 megapixel 1-inch sensor produces large, detailed images, and you can always shoot RAW files if you need that extra data and detail. Autofocus was quick during photos and was mediocre during video. It was slow going from a macro shot to normal, and was just okay in regular situations. The LX10 records video at a resolution up to 4K at 100 megabytes per second at 24 or 30 frames per second, as well as 1080p in MP4 or AVC HD at 24, 30, or 60 frames per second. It also has a dedicated mode that records video at 1080p 120 frames per second, but with limited control. Like so many of Panasonic's cameras, the video looks really good, especially for a compact camera. It has what Panasonic calls 5-axis hybrid O.I.S. plus image stabilization, which does a pretty good job of stabilizing video and can also help with taking photos at lower shutter speeds. So with features like a rotating touchscreen, ring for manual focus or zoom, an aperture ring, focus peaking, etc., make this camera a really solid option for video shooters. The only other downside is there's no option to connect a microphone and the built-in mics just sound okay. In 4K photo mode, there's a really cool feature called post-focusing. Basically, it takes a few photos at different focus distances, and then you touch the screen afterwards to choose the focus you want. Honestly, I can't see a practical application for this given the time it takes for the camera to take and process the pictures. At the same time, it was kind of fun to test out, and I'm sure some people will find it useful. The feature I had the most fun using on this camera was easily its ability to focus as close up as 3 centimeters at the wide end of the lens. You can get some really nice detailed shots, as well as shallow depth of field at this focal length and distance. Premium compact cameras are so feature-rich these days, it's really tough for me to go through everything this camera is capable of in such a short review. For my next camera review, I'm going to try to come up with a way to keep the review short and concise, but maybe have another outlet to go into every detail of the camera for people who are looking for that sort of thing. But overall, the Lumix LX10 is a really great all-around compact camera, especially when you consider the features and quality you get for the price.